welcome to our highlights edition with the best of picks of the week. Here is what we have got lined up for you today. Bursts of color, Italian design brand Seletti at the current Milan Design Week. Capital City, we spend a day in Madrid, Spain. And automotive icon, the Volkswagen Beetle, turns 80. The brand Seletti is known for its creative, crazy, and provocative designs, like its banana and monkey lamps, which we featured on the show a few weeks ago. Well, now, for the first time, the company is displaying an array of trendy furniture and home accessories at Milan's Furniture Fair. Now, for creative director Stefano Seletti, his motto could very well be "Minimal is over." So if that's any indication, one can be sure that Italian decadence, at least according to Seletti, is back in fashion.
Gaudy, flashy, and colorful. It all has its place at the Salone del Mobile, the Milan Furniture Fair. On show is not just furniture, there are fixtures and decorations too. The more sculptural, silly, and showy, the better. One attraction is the stand of Italian design company Seletti. The exuberant brand is exhibiting here for the first time.
People want original, inventive products, things that have never been seen before. That's a challenge. That's why we give familiar things a makeover.
On display are lighting solutions such as the banana lamp and the monkey lamp, which is currently one of Seletti's best sellers. New additions to its range include the lazy chairs, designed for Seletti by the Belgian design company Studio Job.
This is a cannabis pattern with a special optical effect. It's a deliberate provocation. Using it for a classic granddad's armchair that everyone is familiar with creates a witty contrast. It's our way of reinventing a classic piece of furniture.
The Seletti headquarters are outside Parma. Thanks to Stefano Seletti, the company founded by his father in 1964 has undergone a revamp. It started out making household objects and now enjoys a reputation for edgy, innovative design. Company icons include its animal lamps and fast food furniture.
I think the days are gone when people bought furniture and decoration for life. These days, interior design has to evolve to reflect where you are in life and how you feel.
For his designs, Seletti has also borrowed visuals from the magazine Toilet Paper, published by Italian artists Maurizio Catalan and Pierpaolo Ferrari. The results of the collaboration are making their debut at the Salone del Mobile.
The artistic ownership of the graphics is exclusive, but now anyone can afford a piece of them. We work together with the magazine to overcome this entry barrier to art.
Seletti isn't the only company taking this approach at Milan Design Week. There's a growing public appetite for original pieces, like the Kong lamp and the rabbit chair made by Kibu. Anything goes, so long as it's not boring.
Il mondo è saturo di oggetti.
There's a surfeit of objects in the world, so we're on the lookout for things that have a strong identity. Design is becoming more and more like art.
This range is made of aluminum. It's designed by Alt Reforma, which mainly manufactures chassis for companies like Ferrari and Rolls-Royce. The lollipop is a vase. This dressing table is called Betty Davis Eyes.
Even customers with traditional tastes can jazz up their homes with our pieces. Our designs are showstoppers. They're ironic and cheeky.
Parties are part of Milan Design Week, taking place at the trade fair, but also in the city's streets and showrooms. Here at Seletti, the new Cora lamp, designed by Studio Job, is a major talking point.
We based the dimensions on Achille Castiglione's famous Arco lamp.
Job Smeets from Studio Job also puts in an appearance. The notoriously playful product designer enjoys a visual gag more than most. Take his golden toilet brush and toilet paper dispenser.
Art, kids, design, fun, non-modernism. Non-modernism, vielleicht. Rococo.
The legendary Maurizio Catalan is also there, artist, inspiration, and good friend of Stefano Seletti. For insiders and visitors alike, Milan Design Week is a place that puts the fun in functionality.
Photographer Frank Kunert likes to play with people's perceptions. Well, aside from photography, Kunert likes to build miniature models of buildings, streets, bridges, or various scenes. Then he photographs them. Now, to the viewer, these look like real settings until upon closer observation. That's when you notice that something is a bit off or out of the ordinary. Well, his photographs are meant to make statements about society as he perceives it.
A place to sit down with a good book, a comfy reading chair in an underwater library. The artist calls it a diver's paradise. The photo and its subject are by Frank Kunert.
The basic idea is that you immerse yourself in another world, far away from your everyday problems. It's like an oasis of peace.
This model served as the setting for a photo titled Climbing Vacation, an allusion to the carefully composed holiday snaps in travel magazines.
They create illusions in the studio and they're supposed to look authentic. I always think that's fascinating. It's a way of playing with reality.
Kunert chronicles his miniature worlds in pictures. Some are caricatures and some are quirky. He calls this image Into the Blue Yonder. Downwards is aimed at escapists who refuse to see the abyss yawning beside them.
I want to show the whole spectrum of life, from tragedy to comedy.
Before he reaches for the camera, he constructs the settings in his studio. The bed, the sink and the pots, every detail gets the same attention. He finds many of the miniatures online. He also uses modeling clay, customized tools, foam boards and paint. In this scale, syringes are an essential tool. A bottle of red wine stands ready to welcome this apartment's new residents.
The apartment listing probably reads like this: a fully furnished one-room apartment, and upon arrival the prospective renter gets a surprise.
Frank Kunert draws inspiration from the real world. He lives in the western German town of Boppard on the Rhine River. When he's on the road, he looks not so much for beauty as for traces of time passing. He was born in Frankfurt in 1963 and, after leaving school, trained to be a photographer. Starting out professionally in commercial photography, he began constructing his little worlds, as he calls them, in the mid-1990s.
My ideas come from everyday life, and I mix them up with impressions I get, such as the way an old house conveys the passage of time and the lives that played out there. And I try to funnel all that into my imagery.
The transitory nature of modern everyday life, the people's worries and dreams, these are the themes that recur in his work. This bridge provided the inspiration for his photograph Under the Bridge. Once he's had an idea, he starts to sketch for a model.
This is my favorite Autobahn bridge. I often come this way, and at one point the idea came to me. There's a housing shortage across Germany, especially in the cities. So what if a little house were built in the bridge pillars? A sort of tiny house that's totally fashionable right now. It would solve a lot of problems.
Back in his studio, he gets to work on his solution to the housing crisis. Frank Kunert invests from 2 weeks to 3 months on his meticulously crafted 3D models.
Sometimes I wonder why I do this to myself. It would all be much easier if I used Photoshop, but by doing it this way, I feel like I'm breathing life into things.
Once he's finished his 3D model, he photographs the result with an analog large-format camera that's around 30 years old. His photographs depict scenes just like the real thing, only not quite. Kunert doesn't alter the images digitally before he publishes them. His most recent book is called Lifestyle. It's his third collection of photographs.
It's like a stage that the viewer fills with his or her own imagination. To me, that's more exciting than filling it with people.
People might be absent from his images, but somehow the miniature models are imbued with a human presence. Frank Kunert's small worlds tell stories that linger in the mind.
Time now to take a trip, and we're headed next to the Spanish capital, Madrid, which has really taken off as a top tourist destination over the last couple of years. Now, this is due in part to relatively low prices for food and accommodation, and a large variety of things to do, from culture to sightseeing. Plus, it's easy to get around the city thanks to an efficient public transport system. Well, I recently traveled there to meet up with local resident and blogger Marcela de la Peña, who offered some insider tips on how to best explore the city. Madrid, a sprawling metropolis with architecture representing several centuries. A drive down the main Gran Via Boulevard gives visitors an impression of the energetic vibe of the Spanish capital. Located directly in the center of town, the Plaza Mayor is Madrid's main square. It's a popular gathering place filled with cafes. Public relations manager Marcela de la Peña was born and raised here. In her spare time, she writes a blog giving tourists insider tips.
If I only had a day, I would definitely suggest a bit of culture, a visit to one of the 3 major museums we have in Madrid, like the Prado, the Reina Sofia or the Thyssen. I would also suggest shopping, because apart from the big and well-known Spanish brands that everybody knows, we also have in the Salamanca district really nice shops of Spanish brands. And the third thing I would suggest, the Mercado San Miguel.
The Mercado de San Miguel is located just a few meters away from the Plaza Mayor. The structure dates back to 1916. Unlike other Spanish markets, this is not a place to do ordinary grocery shopping, but rather a venue to enjoy an array of Spanish delicacies.
Mercado San Miguel is very touristic. As you can see, there are a lot of people at every hour of the day. It was an old market that they have renovated, and the good thing is that you have like all the good choices of Spanish gastronomy, especially the Iberico ham.
Following Marcela's second tip, we head to the shopping district of Salamanca. This is Madrid's most exclusive suburb, with narrow, tree-lined streets and small boutiques which offer unique items that are hard to find anywhere else. Marcela's blog also outlines where tourists can go if they're in search of authentic Spanish design.
Madrid is very good for shopping. A must is Salamanca neighborhood for that, and you will find like very exclusive boutiques like this one, where they sell very fashion leather bags with Spanish leather, of course.
For tourists interested in taking in some culture, the Prado Museum, or the Thyssen-Bornemisza's private collection, or the Reina Sofia must be put on the list of places to go. The Reina Sofia Museum opened in 1992 and houses contemporary art, including an icon of the 20th century, Pablo Picasso's Guernica, depicting the 1937 bombing of the town in the Basque Country.
We have a great collection of certain Spanish artists like Dalí, like Miró, like Juan Gris, Maria Blanchard, and of course Picasso, a collection that deals with artistic issues but also deals with political, with social issues, a collection that is historical, is our immediate past, but it also has to do with the present.
For sports fans, a tour of the Bernabeu Stadium is also a must. This is home to the champion soccer team Real Madrid. The Stadium Museum houses all of the team's trophies, including the 12 European Cups won over the years. The best way to round off a day of sightseeing in Madrid is by heading back to the city center to the well-known street of Cava Baja. This is where numerous tapas bars are located. The Spanish typically eat tapas as a snack between meals, and they are always served with a drink.
The word tapas nowadays is very common, but not many people know that the origin of the word is because in the old times, when you used to order a drink, they would serve it with a cover like this, which would be a bit of cheese or ham. Nowadays, when you ask for tapas, they can serve you something like this. We have a little bit of cheese, we have chorizo, and we have breadsticks.
Madrid might have a big city feel to it, but life here moves at a slow, leisurely pace. And that is also what tourists can enjoy when visiting this city. No other car has left a bigger mark on the German automotive history than the Volkswagen Beetle. Now, despite its shadowy beginnings as the people's car in Nazi Germany, it became one of the most popular means of transportation in the post-war world. Now, a new coffee table book highlights the VW Beetle in its golden years.
Family member, a second home, and a means of transportation. For generations of people, the VW Beetle was part of their world. The photos remain. Berlin photographer Jörg Lehmann has been collecting them. The car is special to him, and it fascinates him like no other.
It's different from all the others. It doesn't stand for luxury, but maybe for simplicity.
A simple, affordable car was just what West Germans needed in the post-war years to get rolling again and taste a little freedom. It was also the first car Jörg Lehmann ever rode in.
The first memories and the photos of my mother, for instance, are of her carrying me when she got out of the hospital. I'd just been born, and my father took pictures of us, and that's actually what started this collection.
The VW Beetle has always been a part of his life, as the driver's logbook that his mother kept for so long attests.
She chronicled what she'd experienced in this car with my father, and where we'd gone.
Jörg Lehmann has picked up over 2,000 Beetle photos at flea markets and auctions. Now he's collected the best of them in a book and captioned them with texts by journalist Katja Volkmer. The images are of holidays and just daily living. Often, the Volkswagen Beetle was like a part of the family, and as such it appears in many wedding and birthday photos.
Many people posed in front of their cars when they got married or went on vacation in the car, and you can also tell that they really liked their cars.
The Nazis had told Ferdinand Porsche to design a low-priced but reliable car for the average consumer. He presented the first series production model in 1938. But production didn't begin until after World War II at the Volkswagen plant in Wolfsburg. By the time production ended in 2003, 21 million Beetles had rolled off assembly lines the world over, first in Germany, later in Mexico as well.
People were proud that, not long after the country was left in ashes, it could bring such a successful product to market. A German product. The land that just a few years before had left other countries in soot and ashes came along with something that thrilled everyone.
To connect Beetle fans everywhere, Jörg Lehmann has founded the Virtual Beetle Museum Berlin. Here, people can share experiences and recount fond memories of the bug. Though the VW Beetle production started 80 years ago, some bugs are still on the road today. Jörg Lehmann is even planning a trip to New Zealand with his Beetle.
You're never lonely with a car like this. When I go to New Zealand, I imagine I'll be invited somewhere every night with my car. I'd say a car like this is the best means of communication there is.
Many people give their Beetles pet names. And who can forget Herbie the Love Bug? All that makes the VW Beetle much more than just one of the world's best-selling cars.
Most artists draw or paint on paper, but the Russian-born artist Yulia Brodskaya paints with paper. She uses colorful pieces and cuts and folds them into strips, into the shapes that she wants. Now, her creations can currently be seen in the display window of a London lingerie shop. We met up with the artist in her studio.
You have to look twice to really understand what this work of art is made of. It's comprised of hundreds of little strips of paper, which together form a picture. But it's the combination of colours and shapes which gives the portrait its depth. Paper artist and illustrator Yulia Brodskaya created these works. She's been fashioning paper into 3D pictures for a decade.
Paper is just amazing. It's flexible, it's versatile. There are just so many things you can do to it. You can fold it, you can cut it, and you name it. I really like to use it.
Yulia came up with the idea of creating three-dimensional objects from paper when she was experimenting with her signature. After that, her objects evolved to be more and more complex. The Russian-born artist works at her studio in St Albans, north of London. She uses a technique known as quilling, or paper filigree. It's achieved by rolling strips of paper into coils and folding or curving them into different shapes. Then they're glued together. It's painstaking and exacting work.
The main challenge of using this technique and working with paper is just the time. It's so time-consuming, it's labor-intensive. It takes days and weeks to create relatively small-size artwork because there are lots of details I need to incorporate. So I have to be really patient.
Yulia is often inspired by plants. Each of her artworks starts as a sketch, then comes the detailed work. She cuts the paper in strips with a hobby knife and then shapes them into individual elements. Finally, she posts images of the finished works on Instagram. She has more than 30,000 followers. The advertising industry has also taken an interest in Yulia's paper art. She's created works for an American airline, a Japanese designer fragrance, and a British car brand. Her images even grace postage stamps. And not long ago, one of her designs was reproduced in a larger format in central London. It now serves as a window display in a clothing store, a first step in the artist's next direction.
My plan is to also try to work on a slightly larger scale, because this is a compact art form, and it makes an impact when it's seen on a larger scale. My next goal is to try and find a way to just make it larger.
But Yulia Brodskaya has no desire to experiment with other materials. She's already found her ideal medium. With paper, her ideas blossom.
And And that wraps up another week of Euromaxx. Keep following us on social media, Facebook, for example. There you'll find lots of fun web videos and live posts from the hosts, including me. Or you can always go to our website to see the reports again. Well, from all of us here at Euromaxx, as always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.